Every year since 1989, the Library of Congress has selected 25 films to add to the National Film Registry. The criteria? The films must be culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
Each week on You're Missing Out, we take a look at one of these films to try and get to the heart of why they were selected and why they still matter.
This week, Isabella Zaydenberg returns to the show to discuss the screwball comedy classic, His Girl Friday. Our guest today, returning to the show, I was going to recycle the same credits and just say, the same thing we normally say, but, if our guest wanted to let at least the folks watching on video know, I believe you did have a title change recently since the last time you were on here. Do you want to get into that?
Which one? No, I'm just kidding. Got a ring.
For folks,
yes. So officially the guest of our show with the worst judgment.
So this, we've had a lot of people on the show, or we say, oh, well, this is a real distinction. You're the first person that's been on 5 times. You're the first person that's, I can say with 95% certainty, this is the first guest we've had on the show whom I'm marrying. I'm mostly sure that's a fair title.
Is that percentage higher or lower than the amount of guests you've?
Jesus Christ! I'm so excited to cut around parts of this. I'm so excited for our listeners to write in and go, there's a long stretch of that's just Tom beeped out, and I can't figure out what he's saying. To which I say, we've been doing this 5 years. You should be able to figure out what he's saying under the beep. But Bella Zaydenberg returns to the show for the 4th time on the show, and very likely the last time on the show as Bella Zaydenberg. This is a weird one in that regard. But
would now be a good time to tell you I'm keeping my last name?
That would be fun, because that's a different thing than you said before we started recording, which, just as a peel behind the curtain, folks, is also indicative of how wedding planning's been going so far. Really, it's just jumping back and forth. The ring that you saw on camera was subject of a long process that Tom had to endure me lamenting in between recordings of this show very often, where I go, well, I was told angular, and then the next time go, I was told ovals, and Tom would go, those don't have angles. What does that mean? What are you supposed to do? And
I think what you're supposed to do is pull the trigger and hope it's quick.
Your recommendation,
the wedding, the marriage, the engagement. Which part is supposed to be quick?
The bullet going through his brain.
Yeah, I think he was alluding that I should shoot myself, which is also a recommendation he makes when I complain to him about anything.
Well, it's also what I recommend to myself, and yet I don't listen.
I could just tell him my Amazon package is a little late, and he's like, you should probably blow your brains out. That's really the only solution to this.
Listen, just call me Jim Jones. I'm just calling for mass suicides all the time.
So anyway,
Kool-Aid.
We are here to talk about His Girl Friday,
which has an attempted suicide in it.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
Very funny.
It does. And we, this one I think is special. A lot of times when we have a guest on, I ask, why did you pick this film or what have you? But is it all right, Bella, if I kind of share the anecdote for why we're doing this film?
Go for it.
Because there's the surface level stuff. It's about it's a rom-com about 2 journalists, which is similar to our dynamic. It's about a couple that goes through a bitter divorce, which we haven't done yet, but let's not rule it out. Let's not rule it out, quite frankly. It's possible. But really what this is...
I'm going to have a betting pool at the wedding. Just be like, hey guys, over and under this amount of time, you want
to... But really, the truth is, when you and I started dating years ago, when we started dating, you expressed
7.
to me...
Is it 7?
Yeah. Because you guys started dating. You guys started dating right after I broke up with.
No, we started dating in what, 2019?
No, 2018.
2019.
And end of 2018.
No, it's 2019. I remember.
Okay.
Because
All right, so
yeah, the
Oh,
pandemic
right, yeah,
started
okay.
the following year.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, this is not worth litigating for folks on. Like, what's important
I think
is
it's riveting.
when we started dating,
Litigate how much
you
each of you care about your relationships. Let me watch this.
when you and I started dating, you had expressed to me that you were. I had said, I'm very into film, went to film school and stuff, and you said to me, yeah, movies are fine. And we talked about you said you didn't really watch a lot of old movies and et cetera, et cetera. And after a little while, I just turned around and I just brought you a DVD of His Girl Friday. And I said, you should watch this. I think you're really going to like it. I think this may get you to kind of come around on old classic Hollywood. And that's when you told me I don't own a DVD player or a television.
And how do you know where I live?
So about a week or two later, I showed up at your apartment with a television and a DVD player and this DVD and went, here, okay, give it a watch. And I was a little trepidatious, but you watched it and you talked about just how much you loved it and how funny it was, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, since then we've watched many an old black and white screwball comedy. But this was the one that kind of maybe I don't know how to say, maybe the first old movie I got you to watch, perhaps, but definitely one that has kind of resonated for us across the many years. So it only felt appropriate that this should be what you come here to talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't remember the first time we watched it, if we watched it with subtitles, but the last time we watched it with subtitles. And I feel like that is absolutely the only way that you can make any sense of the movie at all.
It is easily like the fast talkingest of the screwball comedies. And that's a high bar to try and clear, even compared to some of Howard Hawks' other films, which includes Bringing Up Baby, another film that I know you enjoy immensely, and I believe the first Criterion Blu-ray that you ever bought was Bringing Up Baby. So
I think you bought me that one, actually.
That's true.
Yeah.
I probably bought it for you, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, we haven't hit up to timestamp this. We have not yet hit up the Barnes & Noble sale this time around, but
oh God, I've already spent so much. It's so stupid.
It really, I think the thing is, it really shows why we are getting married, that that she conveyed to me, like, hey, I've got an idea for something fun we can do. And like real spontaneous, and I went, we could go to the Criterion sale at Barnes & Noble and I could get some books too. It's like, well, that's really all one needs out of life. That's all I need. So we haven't hit it up yet, but we will, because there's some movies for next season that I have to buy, including the Howard Hawks will be covering next season on the show. So, Hun, I know
Which
you
one?
were... Oh, well, this is the fun thing. Hun, you loved the witty repartee, the charm, and the light, frothy comedy of His Girl Friday. So if you enjoyed that, wait till you see the light, fun, frothy romance in Howard Hawks' Scarface, The Shame of a Nation.
Oh, hell yeah. That's right. I got
He had
too.
quite a diverse career.
I've still never seen it.
Well, you're talking about... So which Scarface are you thinking of? The Pacino one or the older one?
I didn't realize there was an older one, so the
right,
Pacino one?
Yeah. So there is an old... Howard Hawks did a Scarface that is this very influential crime film, and then the De Palma one with Pacino is I guess you could call it a loose remake.
Structural remake.
Yeah. Which I guess which kind of brings us to the film we're talking about today, because the film we're talking about today
is a remake.
Is a real loose remake in a way. In terms of, this is, of course, an adaptation of a very successful play called The Front Page, which itself was adapted in 1931 by director Louis Milestone, who did All Quiet on the Western Front, a number of great films. Louis Milestone's one of those filmmakers who was like a canonical auteur early on, who has faded for no other reason than we just keep adding people to the canon, so some people get forgotten.
And his Front Page is in the register, right?
Yes. So that's one of the things I wanted to get out of the way up top, is like, for people who are tuning in hoping we're going to do a lot of stuff like on the front page, the play, the Ben Hecht play, and all of that. We will save a lot of that discussion for the episode we inevitably do on the front page.
In
So
27 years.
I was going to say, so just be patient, because that didn't get inducted until 2010. So it's going to be a
17 years,
while.
excuse me.
Yeah, it's going to be a while till we get to that one. But it is worth noting up top, like, this is an adaptation of that the biggest change, of course, is changing the Hildy character from a male character named Hildebrand to a female character named Hildegard. The other thing that shocks me when I look at it is that this has to add a whole romance subplot, with between Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell, and it's still 10 minutes shorter than Lewis Milestone's The Front Page. Probably because they just talk twice as fast.
Yeah, lots and lots of talking, and it's funny. I know we're not going to spend too much time on the front page of it all, but I did something that usually you do. I watched the Billy Wilder front page.
Oh, the Billy Wilder front page.
Yes.
Wow, because the Milestone front page is on the His Girl Friday Criterion disc.
No, yeah, I know, but I had the Kino Lorber Billy Wilder, and I listen to so many podcasts, and Quentin is on fucking podcasts all the time, and he talks all the time about, Billy Wilder's one of those guys who, once he got older, he stopped making good movies, and he'd always point to the front page. And even in Dolomite's My Name, the front page is the movie that makes Rudy Ray Moore want to make Dolomite. So I'm like, one day I'm like, you know what? Let me watch it. Billy Wilder, let me try to see what happened to this guy. It's fine. It's got its charms, but it's fine. But I think ultimately it's so funny because this version is so far and away better, and I think the romantic element to it makes the story just make more sense, if only because you watched whichever version of the front page, you just watch them and you go, I think it makes more sense for this guy to be doing all of this for the woman he loves and not just a guy he likes as a reporter. It's like, oh, you're a great reporter. It's like, okay, get another guy, get another reporter.
It also makes Hildy.
Me and Bella can vouch for this. There's a lot of us out there. There's too many. There's too many.
But it also makes Hildy such a more interesting character. In the Milestone film, it's Pat O'Brien as Hildy, and like you said, Tom, it's just some generic reporter. What Rosalind Russell brings to this film, it's so great because the inherent conflict of, do I choose my career or do I choose domesticity, becomes so much more interesting when it's a career woman, particularly a career woman in 1940, right?
Yes.
The elements of societal pressure. And I also think what Rosalind Russell brings to it, the way that she gets to play the different sides of Hildy, right? There's so many references like, well, I want to be treated as, feminine and all of this stuff. And yet, when she first enters the press room at the courthouse, the way that those other journalists greet her and talk to her, and the way she just slips into this different dialect, conveys so much, and it makes her such an interesting character. This is a case of, not that I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I think Cary Grant is great in this film, as he is in, Awful Truth or Bringing Up Baby or Philadelphia Story. But this, to me, is one where, like, Rosalind Russell really just stands out next to him in a way that some of his other co-stars don't get to.
Well,
What's so wild, too, is that she wasn't the one that was originally supposed to play her. Yeah. Carol Lombard was the first choice that Hawks had, but then they apparently approached Katharine Hepburn and Irene Dunn and Claudette Colbert and Jean Arthur and Margaret Sullivan and Ginger Rogers, and none of them were either available, or they were too expensive, or they just didn't want the role. So by the time that they got to Rosalind Russell, she was like the 17th choice, and she found out that she was, and she was real pissed by the time she went to her audition. So she apparently showed up with just wet hair, and they were like, okay, go straight to wardrobe because she was just so good. But worked
Well,
out.
it's funny too because based on the structure of this thing, she has to be this good. She's the lead of the movie. Cary Grant is kind of not around for a large swaths of the movie.
Yeah.
It's really like the beginning and the end you really get Cary Grant, and the middle is so anchored around her that if she's not up to, which is, and it's why you by comparing and contrasting the two, having her being a woman, and that there's this sort of love triangle thing going on, which I would argue that the best thing she brings to the movie is the Ralph Bellamy character, because goddamn, am I always gonna laugh when you have a movie that just has a city slicker just taking a rube out to lunch and just making him look like a fool for the entire movie, and the rube, and like up until the end is like, but like, he's such a nice guy, right? What's going on? Why is this happening? I'm just like, this is great. Yeah, she has to be up to snuff, because if she's not, she's the lead. The movie sinks. As funny as Cary Grant is, as great as he is, as great as the little bit roles that fill out this movie are, it's her movie. Not to be a jerk about it, but she's Friday.
Yeah. It's to go back to the casting thing, Bella was talking about too, that's one of those things that you hear and it sounds really bad, that she was like 15th in line or whatever. She apparently brings it up in her memoir, so she still hangs on to that bitterness. But it makes sense to me simply because when you look at a lot of those other names, right? When you look at those other names, okay, Carole Lombard. Why? Because Carole Lombard had done 20th Century with Hawks, right? Like the OG screwball comedy. Katharine Hepburn obviously had done Bringing Up Baby, right? The list of names is a lot of names that Hawks had worked with before. And I think he recognized, too, like, this hinges so much on the Hildy role that I want to make sure I have somebody that I know can deliver, right? Like, this is the kind of thing where it's a little frightening to hand it off to an unknown entity, right?
Well, someone that can deliver, and someone that can just be the role, that you're not bringing any extra baggage to it, because this is something that like Katharine Hepburn was one of the names that was brought up, obviously, and you read up about her career, she was always someone that it took forever for her to really kind of become like just accepted, because every movie was just like baggage upon baggage of her extracurricular stuff, her personal life stuff, and you don't want in this role, because it is all her, you don't want someone tilting the scales of the whole thing. You need someone to just disappear and be like, all right, she's just a fast talking dame that's doing kind of sleazy journalism in San Francisco. So it's one, again, another one of those cases, those magical things about movies where you got to the 17th person in line and it's the best fucking choice. Sometimes the best choice isn't the first choice. This would make the movie great. So maybe it's not the best choice. Sometimes that's just how movies go.
So before we talk any more about the film, because I know we've already gotten into it, and I want to make sure we have a lot to say about it. I know because, again, I bore witness to Bella diving through all of the bonus features on the Criterion, which I should shout out, by the way. So, Tom, you have the Criterion of His Girl Friday too, right?
Yes, I do.
Somewhere. For anybody who does not, my main advocation for it, doing the booklet, I'm holding this up for the video version, doing the booklet as a newspaper of the Morning Post delights me to no end, because it's just got these little, they include the goddamn poem from the minor bit character who sucks. It makes me very happy. And there's a bit, we'll return to this bit. In fact, you know what? When we get back from the clip we're going to play, I want to just make sure we focus on our favorite bit. So they have a little news blip on the bottom of the newspaper that says, counterfeit passer caught attempting to pass $500 worth of counterfeit money at the Union Station A man giving his name as Bruce Baldwin of Albany, New York, was arrested last night. Baldwin, described by witnesses as resembling, quote, that actor Ralph Bellamy, is currently awaiting bail. So I want to make sure we get to that. But before we do, let's hear what the Library of Congress had to say. Here's what the National Film Registry had to say about His Girl Friday.
His Girl Friday. Director Howard Hawks converts the 1931 buddy picture, The Front Page, into a fiery and funny battle of the sexes by casting one of its protagonists as a woman. Cary Grant plays the editor and ex-husband of hard-boiled reporter Rosalind Russell, whose impending marriage to Ralph Bellamy is sidetracked by a breaking news story. Hawks retains much of the dialogue from the original play by Ben Hecht and Charles MacArthur, and masterfully overlaps lines to great comic effect and a vibrant piece.
So that's what the National Film Registry had to say about His Girl Friday. I bring up, or I tease this with the Ralph Bellamy thing because, and I think we've talked about it on the show before, but one of both Tom and I's favorite jokes in any movie ever is Cary Grant's ad-lib of him saying, in describing him, saying he looked like that actor fellow Ralph Bellamy. I feel like
I love little meta stuff like that, especially when a movie's not meta and they just will throw one line that's meta at you. That it's like in Smokey and the Bandit when for one moment where he just looks into the camera and smiles, and then there's no other meta stuff throughout the movie. I'm just like, I love little things like that. Just those little bits are like, yeah, we're a movie. We know. We're not trying to trick you.
And it's like a lot of this comes out of the fact that like this was a very ad-lib heavy movie, right?
Which is crazy because of how fast everyone's talking.
Everyone's talking so fast, and we're not that deep into the sound era, so I don't know how they were editing this, but you can tell that there's bits that happened that like Grant and Russell were doing with an eye toward like, there's no way this makes the cut, and it makes the cut. There's a bit at one point where Rosalind Russell was getting frustrated and she threw her bag at Cary Grant, and he says like, you're gonna have to work on that. Your arm is slipping. And Hawks kept that in. Now, there are two other improvs we'll talk about in a second, because I know Bella and I were talking about before we got on mic, but just to point out, the Ralph Bellamy gag is genuinely a joke Tom and I have been bringing up to one another for more than a decade now. Just literally anytime either of us watches a movie with Ralph Bellamy, we bring it up. It's I think it started back in college, back in film school.
It was definitely college, because this was a movie we watched in college.
You did. I did.
Well, I did. Yeah. Well,
so there was a course on like journalism and cinema.
Yes, that's
that
right.
I was not in, but you were in, and you had. I'm assuming that was your first time seeing His Girl Friday, right?
Yeah.
But that was one of the ones where like you came to me and you were like, "You seen His Girl Friday?" And I was like, "I've seen that 700 times." I feel like that was partly because I loved Cary Grant as a kid and I had the DVD, and partly because this is a perennial TV staple because it costs you nothing to broadcast it, because it is so deeply public domain. So I've seen it a million times. And then you brought up the Ralph Bellamy joke, and I think a week or two later we were watching Trading Places. Ralph Bellamy pops up and you and I were just pigs in shit. We were so happy that we get to talk about him even more.
It's just one of those stupid little things that every film, every cinephile has, those little things that just tickle them. Just like, I don't know, like it's because, and it's also because it's Ralph Bellamy. Like,
yeah.
In the end, like, who the fuck is Ralph Bellamy really? Like, it's
it's also that thing of like, I was thinking about it in terms of actually, and I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds. But Bella and I were out recently with her family, and there's this this Soviet era comedy film, this Soviet era slapstick film called The Man with the Diamond Arm that is beloved by folks who grew up with it. And Tom, you would legitimately get a kick out of it. It's a lot of crime antics, so you'd have a good time.
I love a good criminal antic.
But there is this bit with, and I don't, you'll know the quote, Bella, much better than I will, but there's this bit about this when this guy is getting just hammered on, I think it's champagne, is it? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in years and years.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite Soviet era
But we
film,
were
but
we were out at an event, and like your friend was on, and everybody was just quoting this line, right? And it's this thing that it just kind of like it moves beyond like that was a funny scene in the film, and it just becomes like this just lives with me now, right? Like this just lives with me now. And there are so many from those Hawks comedies that do that. You know, when we did Bringing Up Baby, we talked about the I just went gay all of a sudden, right? And with this, some of that is, the Ralph Bellamy bit is great. Obviously, the ending line about, I wonder if Bruce can put us up. Like this has so many just little things that it's not even like they are. You couldn't tell the joke to somebody who hadn't seen the movie and they would laugh, right? The lines themselves are not like comedy gold, but it's just they somehow just hit the right note at exactly the right time.
It's the right energy.
Brilliant patter
it's
of the
right.
movie.
It's the right performers. It's just again, it's a pure cinema thing. Because, like you said, if you put it down on paper, you're probably looking at it like, is this funny? I don't know. And then you just deliver all that dialogue at fucking machine gun speed with these actors delivering it. It's just great. One of the things that I'm always going to think about with this, I always think about with this movie is when the mother-in-law shows up at the end after getting kidnapped, and she's like, he's the one that did it, and he goes, are you talking to me?
Yes.
Are you?
it's a meme now.
And it's just I've never seen her before in my life. I'm just like, come on, that's what you pay Cary Grant to do.
Yeah.
Or when he's on the phone and the guy he's trying to get to move the fucking desk is like, now you finally find a girl now after 6 years, and then put her on the phone. And he's like, where do you get it? Blah blah blah. I'll come down there and kick you in the teeth. Oh, what? Where do you get all speaking with language like that? It's just like, come on, this is Cary Grant. He's a funny guy.
Or the one that always cracks me up, especially I think about it all the time in any, and this is, I'm not going to get specific, but anytime I'm in a work meeting, I don't know about you guys, anytime I'm in a work meeting where we're discussing like moving stories or moving dates or moving moving things around, publishing schedules, I just think of the whole bit about move that to the back pages, kick that hit little of funny pages, get this here, get this there. No, leave the rooster. That's a human interest story. I think of it all the time. All the time.
I mean,
so speaking of
so much of this, the journalist shit is so goddamn funny. Mike knows I'm a sucker for a good journalist picture, which is probably why I'm easier on the Billy Wilder version than most. But the three of us all know from firsthand, just even if it's not exactly daily newspaper work that we do, it's a lot of it's just like, a lot of this shit still hasn't necessarily changed.
Listen, I'll be honest. I'm constantly paying an Italian mobster to give people counterfeit money. That's just how I do my job.
Oh, the bit at the end where she takes out the 450 and he just grabs it and looks at it, and she's like, "None. I just wanted to look at it, just to make sure it's the actual counterfeit money that the gangster get." It's I think I was rewatching it this morning. I think one of the biggest reasons why I think it's so funny is that they're all just shitheads.
Yes.
They're all just kind of like low-life shitheads. Not bad, not evil, but they're just kind of shitheads. Cary Grant, if he wasn't a newspaperman, he'd be pulling 3-card Monte games out on the street. Rosalind Russell would probably be like running through rich men, just like traipsing across the world, being whisked around. And then once she's bored with this guy, divorce him, go for another guy who gets on another adventure. The only one who's not a shithead is Ralph Bellamy, but that's because he's a dumbass. And it's just like, well, he's a sweet boy.
I think it's so funny. Like, part of the brilliance of this film and this script is the fact that it's like, it's a couple things, right? One is the brilliance of making Cary Grant a heel, right? The brilliance of this thing where, like, another movie, another movie would have Cary Grant desperate to win her back and like acting on his best behavior, right? But here, like, you have a bit at one point where she's talking to him about how he says to her like, oh, you know what, does Bruce hold open the door for you? Yes, he's a gentleman, he holds open the door. And then Cary Grant blatantly walks ahead of her and does not hold open the door once. Just like, there's just the utter disregard. And what you see as the film goes on is that at the very start, she's on to his games and she's repulsed by his games, right? She's looking out for Bruce. She does that kind of bit of like, well, no, actually put the check in your hat. Don't put it in your pocket, because she sees through it, right? And then she starts to really love the gamesmanship. More and more, as Cary Grant is doing these awful things, she just gets excited about whether or not she can outsmart his awfulness.
I mean, it's so great that she at every turn knows that he's what his shtick is. That she knows exactly which blonde it was that gets Ralph Bellamy arrested. She knows exactly the guy who, you know, picked his pocket. Blah blah blah. Like she knows every little trick of his is just it's so funny, and she's like mad about it, but quickly gets sucked back into the case, and then it's just delightful. I love a movie about a bunch of fucking dummies. Not dummies, just a bunch of shitheels. That's just really all it is. They're all just they're city folk, and I love them.
But what I think is also so interesting is that there's such a difference between how she treats Ralph Bellamy's character versus Cary Grant's character, where, like, yes, the entire film they're talking at breakneck speed, but then, like, when she talks to Bellamy, it's slower because he also talks a lot slower. When she's with Walter or when she's with any of the other newspapermen, it's always just so quick and rapid, and that seems to be her the space where she feels the most comfortable. And I just think that's, like you said, like, she is so onto Walter's whole game, partially because she was married to him for a while, but also because this is, like, it's in her DNA, it's in her blood. Of course, she's going to know all of the tricks. She's done them herself. There was that one bit with the governor that I forget, but like she's been like, being a newspaper person is so ingrained in her, and being in the kind of on the sleazier side of being a newspaper person is so ingrained in her that she's like, that's just the space that she finds herself to be the happiest.
Well, it's funny because the movie starts with the title card basically saying, "Oh, you know, before the time this movie's coming out, you know, newspapermen had to be essentially newspaper people were a bunch of shitheads, asshole." I have it
right here. The quote is, "It all happened in the dark ages of the newspaper game, when to a reporter, getting that story justified anything short of murder. Incidentally, you will see in this picture no resemblance to the men and women of the press today. Ready? Well, once upon a time."
That, like, framing it that way is so funny, and also is so sarcastic too. Like, the whole movie's basically just like, yeah, if you're gonna be a daily newspaperman working the crime beat, you kind of have to be a con artist and a shithead, because you're dealing with dipshit sheriffs and crooked mayors and, you know, money scheming Italians, which you have to absolutely be on your best, sharpest behavior around Italians. We are always looking for an edge. It's like, yeah, they're trying to do the right thing, but also they kind of don't care. They just want the best story. You know, they basically drive that one woman who's kind of implied to be a prostitute to fucking try to kill herself to protect, what's his name, Earl?
Well, no, it's not. Molly Malloy isn't implied to be anything. It's the fact that the Molly Malloy thing is just that she was nice to Earl once in a conversation.
I'm confusing the front page.
Yeah, you're confusing her with the blonde. Yeah. No, she. This is the great touch of it, is that that's one of my kind of favorite moments in the film, and it really makes that gender swap so crucial, because up until this point, all of the men of the press, Hildy included, have been just doing whatever, right? They're being unscrupulous to the governor, to whatever. But when Molly comes to them and says, like, I only talked to him once. We were not in love. We're nothing. And you made it out to be all this stuff. You did all this sensationalist tabloid journalism about me. And she's so distraught. And these guys who we've just watched make all of these callous comments about people on the phone, make all of these callous comments about Earl and whatever, and Hildy just joins in. She takes pity on Molly. She escorts her out, and when she is taking care of Molly, those men go silent. And she comes back in and very bitterly calls them gentlemen of the press. And I think that is such a great part of this film because it expands her character, Hildy's, because up until that point, Hildy has considered returning to journalism because she misses the rush of it. She misses the camaraderie. She misses all of that. That moment is so crucial because that's where she feels she's needed. Not just that she wants to be there, but she is needed because she knows how to show mercy to this woman. And the rest of them don't. It moves her from feeling like she wants to do the job. And the comments that Walter keeps making of, you're the only one who can do the job, that stops being flattery. That starts to be a little more true because she is the only one that would take interest in her and care about her that way and not exploit her. So she feels this sort of, now there is a moral urgency to her returning to this career beyond the kind of more surface level urgency she feels.
Well, and it's just a smart, not didactic way to make it that right, because she's the only woman. She's going to have the perspective that none of these guys have, that for them it's just, this is the job, like it's boys club, we talk shit, we play poker, we drink, we make
poetry.
We write poetry, which is, it's in the Billy Wilder one, there's a whole thing about that guy maybe being gay, which is, of course, like, why not? It's the 70s, so make fun of the gays, why not? Good job, Bill. Yeah, it's just like, without bringing it up, it's like, all right, she's going to have a different perspective than all these other guys, and that's why she's, there's a moral imperative, but also why she's trying to run away from this thing, why she gets to a Ralph Bellamy, who's the complete opposite of all these guys, who's a complete opposite of Cary Grant, who, in the way they talk to him compared to the way she talks to the other guys, she's basically talking to him like a puppy, where these other guys, she's talking to them like rabid dogs, like that. Ralph Bellamy's a trained little puppy, a nice little Labrador, and these other guys are like the fucking hyenas outside, just all like going after the same bone, just like, arr, arr. And she's kind of like, yeah, it's fun just being a wild animal, but also, is it the best? I don't know, but I like that in the end, she's just like, yeah, I'll just stick to being a wild animal.
Also, what's so wild is for the time to have her be portrayed as an equal to those other newspapermen and better. And yeah, exactly. And the fact that like she is able to have empathy and she is able to have a level of camaraderie and sympathy for somebody that they're covering and somebody that could be a great source, really, that isn't seen as a weakness on her end, and that's not seen as something that like could be potentially detrimental to eventually getting the scoop. And I think that just makes her that much more interesting too. And it's also not seen as like a rah-rah sisterhood type of thing. Like I personally didn't read it as that. It felt a lot more like, no, this feels like a basic like human to human interaction versus just like we have to get along because we're women. But yeah, for the time, I think it's really great that she's not just the secretary or the junior reporter or the young ingenue, which, I mean, she kind of is because she's only like 4 or 5 years out of college, which is insane. But it works for the time.
Or that she doesn't even have, or that there's not even like a secretary that she's like friends with to have that like sort of girl power scenes in the movie. It's just like, no, she's just a force of nature. She is just who she is. She, like you said, she's just a person, and it's great. I think it's great. I think women are great. Ladies, I'm single. Please call me.
let's Jesus Christ. Speaking of talking further about the choice to make Hildy a woman, there is a bit of myth making around how that came together, and I'm actually just going to pull out the edition
Please
of
don't
the
pull it
Morning
out.
Post that came with the Criterion, which mentions. So let's see. It talks about how this supposedly came together. Hawks swore he got the idea to make Hildebrand into Hildegard during an after-dinner reading of the play at his house sometime in 1938. According to Hawks, it just so happened that all he had was a woman to read the part of Hildy. Hawks, naturally, was Walter. The gender switch worked so well that before you knew it, he was finding a scriptwriter to turn tipsy dinnertime reading into cold sober studio production. Alas, Hecht was busy. Ben Hecht, the author of the play, Hecht was busy working up scenes for another immortal couple for Gone with the Wind. So Hawks got letterer, the next best thing to Hecht in these circumstances. As Todd McCarthy hints in his biography of Hawks, it's possible that mixed-up front page reading never happened. Over many years in retellings by the director, no woman stood up Spartacus-like to declare, "I am Hildy." In fact, nobody recalled attending such a reading at all. Nobody, that is, except Hawks. Maybe it seems natural now to look at the character's jokily effeminate nickname, but Hildy was played by the bullet-headed tough guy Pat O'Brien in the Millstone Talkie. Hawks claimed that this all came together because he had a dinner party, and after dinner, they went back to his house, the whole group he had the party with. He said, "Let's hang out and read the front page together."
Hey, I do that all the time before I pass out.
Also, I will be one of the two male leads. Do I have another man here who can do the male lead?
Okay.
No.
I was going to say, are you going to maybe bring up some of the rumors about Howard Hawks' maybe personal proclivities?
No, I wasn't even going to say that. I just think like the implication here is that he was having a dinner party, but there was no other man who could play Hildebrand. So, were there just no other men there? Or were there men who were like, I guess I could read it, and Hawks was just going, no, you'll suck at it. You can't act. Screw you. Get me someone who can. And this woman has never been... and then nobody remembers doing this? Which, does that just mean he was like out with a lady and was like, come back home with me? And she's like, great. And he goes, we're going to read a play. And she goes, okay, is it a sexy play? I play a tough newsman, and you play also a tough newsman.
That maybe feels a little bit like slow rolling into his the rumors about him. Like, hey, lady, you play a man. You know, maybe in his mind it's like, oh, I can make a movie where it's like Rosalind Russell is a tough talking dame that falls in love with Cary Grant.
There is a world where he's just talking to John Wayne one day on the set of like Red River. Well, that comes later, but he's talking to like a John Wayne type and going, "Hey, did you see the front page? Yeah, a lot of sexual tension there, huh? What?
What is?
If one of them was if one of them was a dame, I mean."
Because as we all know, men can have sexual tension. Am I right?
Men can't have sexual tension. Let me go film this not at all sexy scene between Montgomery Clift and another man where they compare pistols.
Men can't be sexually attracted to another. Let me go look at Montgomery Clift's chest real quick. I'll be right back.
I haven't shown you yet, hun. Red River.
I don't know about that, Howard Hawks.
It's one of the great westerns, but like it is funny reading like it is funny reading film criticism of Red River from like the 1970s, and you see critics going like, now this might sound crazy to you, but I sense a little bit of latent homosexual tension in this film. And then you watch the movie and it's just two young, slightly feminine men going, hey, I'm not joking, this is like real dialogue. She's like, how about you take your hand and put it on my pistol for a change? You're like, what do you mean?
Oh.
Mild tension. Yeah, it's incredible. It's legitimately it's an amazing.
Why don't
movie.
you
on the show
for a bit? Oh, Howard, you're getting subtle these days.
So we're gonna again. I don't normally beep the episodes, but if I'm gonna start with that, I just want to leave certain things blank so the audience is perplexed. So one thing we got away from that I do want to touch on more is the ad-libbing, all that, because what was interesting is before we started recording, Bella pointed out to me 2 in-jokes in this film and was like, do you know about this? And one of them I knew, and the other
the
one
Archie
I don't.
Leach one?
So that's the thing. So there is a line late in the film where Cary Grant says, "The last man who said that to me was Archie Leach a week before he cut his throat." And if anybody was wondering why he comes up with the name Archie Leach, that's because Cary Grant was a psychic and predicted the movie A Fish Called Wanda 30, 40 years in the future and anticipated that being John Cleese's character name. So he was referencing that. That's my interpretation. It could also be that Cary Grant's real name was Archie Leach, but I'm going to assume it's because he knew A Fish Called Wanda was coming 40 years in the future. In fairness, Fish Called Wanda is about as close as we got to a Howard Hawks screwball comedy in the 80s, right? That is a very Hawksian movie in a lot of ways.
Well, that and Caddyshack too.
I don't have an answer to that because I don't know if you're being serious. I've never seen Caddyshack 2. I can't.
Who's seen Caddyshack 2? Come on.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. You could tell me you've never seen it. You could tell me you've seen it 500 times, and I would believe either one.
Listen, it's a movie with Chevy Chase in it. I'm not watching that shit 500 times unless Rodney Dangerfield's in it.
Hey, everybody.
We're all gonna get laid. Touch my pistol.
Okay, I'll just disclose this now. We have a Spotify playlist of songs to potentially play at the wedding. And I have, in amongst this playlist, I have slipped in the Rappin' Rodney song of Rodney Dangerfield rapping, and Bella gets very mad every time it comes up on shuffle.
Is one of the Joe Pesci rap songs going to be in it?
It wasn't until now.
We're gonna, as an editor, I will do my job and edit this thing.
I have multiple of McGruff's anti-drug songs in there.
Nope.
Nope.
Hey, so how about this?
So the other,
yes, there was a second in joke. Yes,
the other ad lib, yes, the one that you alluded to me that I did not know. So,
which is shocking. I feel like I never have a movie fact you might not know.
You dumbass.
I know, truly. So remember when Earl Williams was trying to get out of that like roll up desk thing, and Grant says, "Get back in there, you mock turtle." Mm-hmm. Grant played a mock turtle in Alice in Wonderland a few years prior.
I did not know that at all. That's excellent.
You're welcome.
Now, Earl Williams. I want to talk about Earl Williams a little bit.
He's so goddamn funny.
Well, it's
so funny that he just wants to die. The whole, can't they just kill me, please? I'm so tired. Why did they wake me up?
But it is. I mean, like Tom and I are both, big Western fans. Tom, did you also find it crazy to see John Quaylen in something not doing the thick Norwegian accent they have him do in every goddamn Western?
It's a little odd.
He's in so many old Westerns, and because I think he was Norwegian, right? And they always have him doing that accent, and it always sticks out because you're not used to Swedish or Norwegian characters in Westerns. It makes sense. They were some of the early settlers, but it's just, he always pops up. And again, it'll be like a John Wayne movie, and John Wayne just going into a general store. Every other character in the movie is talking like a cowboy, and then he just pops up going, "Yeah, well, how are you doing? Can I sell you some goods for the road?" And you're like, was this just like a standard thing back then? He's also in Newt Rockney All-American.
Oh, God.
Because Newt Rockney... Newt Rockney was the descendant of, I believe, Norwegian immigrants, because that's why his name is Knut. And you just know that John Quaylen was like, "Oh, I'm playing a real character now," because he plays Newt Rockney's dad. And it's like, you could tell he's just stoked to have a more juicy role than just popping up and going, "I'll sell you a new saddle." Yeah. I like John Quaylen in this film, in part because in the Criterion essay, they talk about the fact that character, Earl Williams, is partly based on a real guy who was a guy named Terrible Tommy O'Connor. Tom, have you ever heard of Terrible Tommy O'Connor?
No, but I'm pretty sure I've been called that after a few drinks, so it's okay.
I was going to say that. Is that a cousin?
I am so excited.
No, that's
no,
me.
because Bella O'Connor, you have to understand, Tom is the most Irish guy with no Irish blood.
None
You would
whatsoever.
expect him to be partly Irish, but he's not. So Terrible Tommy O'Connor is a story of, he was a guy who escaped a Chicago courthouse in 1923, just days before he was supposed to be executed, right? He had killed a cop, and he was about to be executed, and he escaped. He took a gun, and he ran out. Now, unlike Earl Williams, who gets, who gets pardoned or whatever, Terrible Tommy O'Connor was never found again. Literally, just never found. Now, a little anecdote with that. Well, two. One, besides Earl Williams in this film, if anybody has seen the Joseph von Sternberg film Underworld from 1927, the George Bancroft character in that is also modeled after Tommy O'Connor. But here's the awesome thing. The most ridiculous thing. So Tommy O'Connor was supposed to be hanged, right? If he was ever recaptured, he was going to be hanged. A court order in the 1950s, he escapes in 1923. In the 1950s, a court order forced the city of Chicago to retain O'Connor's gallows sentencing and keep him on the death list until it was confirmed he was dead elsewhere. I'm going to read from the Wikipedia article because I love this comment. The gallows were dismantled in 1977, but apparently O'Connor still remains scheduled to hang. Because they never confirmed what happened to him, if he ever turns up, they have to hang him in the city of Chicago.
I mean, listen, dudes rock. We just got it. That's so fucking cool.
I should note, he would be 136 years old now.
Honestly, you know what? I believe he's still around.
So if they do find him, they have to build gallows?
Well, I mean, you can hang somebody anywhere if you're,
I guess if you really believe, yeah.
Listen, I would love a succession of news stories that point out Terrible Tommy O'Connor found.
Terrible still Tommy on the run.
Well, I was saying, Terrible Tommy O'Connor found. Terrible Tommy O'Connor confirmed as oldest living man in history.
Let's kill him.
Terrible Tommy O'Connor to be executed in makeshift gallows in Chicago. I want those in quick succession where it's like, holy shit, Terrible Tommy O'Connor might hold the secret to immortality. Unfortunately, we have to murder him immediately.
No, it would be so funny if it'd be so funny if he was still alive and they found him and he escaped again. That he's just the wiliest man that's ever lived. He's the Bugs Bunny of human beings. No, that's just one of my favorite running bits in the movie is that they keep testing out the gallows.
Yes.
Like, guys, you know it works. And every 5 minutes, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. It's just like, guys, at a certain point, this feels like the modern day equivalent of cops just playing Candy Crush at the subway stations. We know you're not doing anything.
One thing
but don't
I think
be
is
so
interesting.
obnoxious.
One thing I think is interesting that I think is about the Earl character, and this is not cited in the term, but this is like a parallel I found. One thing I think is interesting about the Earl Williams character that I think is lost to time, and may have even been lost to time when His Girl Friday comes out, compared to the 1928 play, is that a subplot in this, when they explain why Earl Williams might have been insane. You know, you have that bit where he talks about, I was in the park, I heard a man talking about production for use, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the implication is he heard some like communist lecturer in the park and it made him crazy and he shot this guy, right? And he went temporarily insane. That sounds a lot like a real, very famous murder that would have been on a lot of people's minds in the 1920s. Does anybody know where I'm going with this?
The Lindbergh baby.
The assassination of William McKinley. President William McKinley was killed in 1901 by a guy named Leon Czolgosz. And Leon Czolgosz was famously, he listened to a bunch of anarchist lectures. There was a very famous like soapbox lecturer monologuing about anarchism and the importance of anarchism and all of that. And Cholgosh was nuts and listened to these lectures on anarchism and was like, well, clearly I have to go shoot the president because that's going to fix the country. And that would have only occurred like 27 years before the play is written. And in the original play, that whole thing about him being accused of being a communist revolutionary is even more overt than it is in the His Girl Friday movie, right?
Yeah.
As for why they switch it from anarchism to communism, my guess is just in the time between the McKinley assassination and the play being written, the October Revolution happens.
Yeah,
So suddenly this country
things changed a bit.
Yeah, suddenly this country stopped being as afraid of like Sacco and Vanzetti anarchists and way more afraid of like a much more organized communist revolution.
So basically, the entirety of His Girl Friday is just anti-communist propaganda.
Well, but also not in a way, because it's kind of like, if anything, it's critical of Red Scare tactics, right? Because it's basically saying like the mayor and the sheriff are willing to let a man die who has a pardon from the governor. They're willing to let him hang just so they can paint themselves as tough on the commies.
Well, it's even funnier
Right?
than that because it's the sheriff that's doing it for his election. The mayor is like, I told you not to do this, you stupid little bastard. Now we have to stick to it because this fucking guy escaped. Oh, here's the reprieve. What's the guy with the reprieval? Another just comedic masterclass from that fat bastard.
Oh,
Ignore the reprieve. We're gonna have to just kill this guy and just forget about the whole public hanging. We got to get ahead of this now. So it goes from the sheriff is willing to do this to win an election, and the mayor is like, well, you kind of fucked me on this, so now we have to kill this guy because it's we're not just cleaning up your mess, you're now cleaning up my mess. Just the multi-layered political bullshit that runs through the city of just one guy actually kind of cares to paint him as a commie, and the other one's just like, well, fuck, I'm painted in this corner. I guess we have to kill him anyway. It's great. It's great. Listen, everything's fine. It's not like this is anything that's relevant today. You know, it's fine.
By the way, I'm looking over my notes, and I forgot to point this out earlier. I know. I forgot to point this out earlier. I think you will enjoy this little fact, Tom. So we've alluded to the front page. The front page, of course, was a play before it was a film. In the original 1928 Broadway production of The Front Page, Tom, do you know who played the role of Walter Burns in the original Broadway production?
Walter Houston?
No. I will give you a hint. This was an actor who shares a name with and is the grandfather of a director of horror films that you and I think are kind of overrated. That's right. The original Walter Burns on Broadway was an actor named Osgood Perkins. Osgood Perkins, Osgood Perkins, the father of Anthony Perkins, best known for obviously Norman Bates in Psycho and Almost Being Bobby and Company. And then Anthony Perkins would, of course, have a child named Osgood Perkins, the alive Osgood Perkins, who now makes things like Longlegs and The Monkey, and is going to keep doing that because people keep showing up, I guess. So there you go. Did you expect that kind of lineage there?
No, mainly because I don't know why I just erased the fact that Anthony Perkins was like a part of a acting lineage. I don't know why that always is. I guess because you get so caught up in this I mean, I guess with the Osgood Perkins of it all, the current Osgood Perkins, all the talk about, what he had to grow up with, that his dad had to hide being gay his whole life, and then he died of HIV, and then his fucking mom died in one of the planes on 9/11, and you're just like, oh, right, so obviously anything that happened before this lineage is not important. No.
Well, it's also that thing that you hear about all the time, I think, which is like there are so many people who were like Hollywood stars who came from acting families, but those acting families were like predominantly on the stage,
Yeah.
right? And so it's not like, when we talk about like Walter Houston and John Huston, you're like, well, I can go back and watch Walter Houston movies, right?
Yeah.
I can go back and watch these things, or the Barrymores or anything like that. But it's like, so often you'll run into these cases where you're like, you'll read about some Hollywood actor or actress, and they're like, well, their mother was an actress. She was touring the country doing summer stock and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh, okay. So they come from an acting family, but they went into movies, right? So it's a slightly different lineup of things, a slightly different like world that they're entering into.
Yes.
But I wanted to make sure I noted that before we, before anything else that Walter was Osgood Perkins.
I mean, fantastic. Good for him. I'm glad he got to do it. Got his, didn't get overshadowed by somebody else doing this performance 12 years later. That's all well and good. Before we get on to anything else, I just, because we were just talking about Earl Williams, there's two scenes from the Billy Wilder front page that I think are going to stick with me for a long time. And one of them is an Earl Williams thing. In the Billy Wilder version, they show you the whole sequence of him getting interviewed by the shrink and then the sheriff giving him the gun. And it is so goddamn funny when they give him the gun, because he just like looks at the gun and then looks at them like, are you fucking kidding me? It's so, honestly, if it wasn't for that scene and the second scene, which I'll bring up later, the whole movie's worth it for just those two bits, because I was like, that's just so fucking funny. Like, because that's how it happens in this movie, but you don't see it. But just somehow actually getting to see it was so fucking funny. And that's like one of those moments you're like, right, if Billy Wilder was a little younger, you see he had something that he could have got his hooks into this thing. But either still, that shit was so fucking funny. It's so goddamn good.
Well, you said there was another Earl Williams, right?
Oh, no, it's a second scene up that,
Gotcha.
Whatever. It's the ending of that. In that movie, the ending is because it's just their, employer. Jack Lemmon is the Hildy role, and he's going to get married to Susan Sarandon. It's like, oh, let's get you to the train, blah, blah, blah. They get on the train, and before the train takes off, Walter Matthau is the Walter role, and he's talking like, listen, I'm honest, I'm being honest, you were the best reporter, but I hope you have a great life with her, blah blah blah. Listen, I want to give you a gift, here's my watch. It's like, oh, you always gave me you can't give me this watch, blah blah blah. It's like, no, please, listen, take the watch, it means a lot, you'll always think of me when you do it. And they're like, great. Train takes off, Walter Matthau's walking, blah blah blah. He goes up to the ticket taker, goes, what's the next stop on this line? And I forget what city is. Fucking Trenton. He's like, oh, okay, call the Trenton police. Why? Because blah 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 Hildegard is on that train. Well, what did Hildegard do? Son of a bitch stole my watch.
So, okay, as you were leading up to that, I have to pull this up, and I never try and like go, oh, I'm going to read right from the Wikipedia, but I have to on this. So that is apparently like the famous ending line from the play. Right?
Well, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny.
I'm just going to read this paragraph verbatim. My compliments to the Wikipedia writer, whoever you are. The film lacks one of the well-known final lines of the play, "The son of a bitch stole my watch," because films of the time were more censored than pre-code Hollywood films, and Hawks felt that the line was too overused. Riskine developed a new ending in which Walter and Hildy start fighting immediately after saying "I do" in the wedding they hold in the newsroom, with one of the characters stating, "I think it's going to turn out all right this time." However, after revealing the ending to a few writers at Columbia one evening, Riskind was surprised to hear that his ending had been filmed on another set a few days later. Forced to create another ending, he came up with thanking the anonymous. He ended up thanking the anonymous Columbia writer because he felt that his ending and one of his final lines, "I wonder if Bruce can put us up," were better than what he had written originally. So there's a whole weird thing with the way that this ends, where this movie was not supposed to end this way. And the original alternative for the watch theft joke was them bickering right after they said "I do," and then he had to change that because somebody else stole it.
Wait, what I got from that is, so we get married in a newsroom? Is that an option? Can we do that? It's probably cheaper.
I mean,
almost certainly
there's probably
cheaper.
enough space in newsrooms today.
Do we do mine or yours?
We could talk about it. We could talk about it off mic. You know.
Well, either way, that whole bit killed me. And just imagine, you can hear Walter Matthau doing it in your head.
Oh yeah,
and seeing it is just it. It doesn't disappoint. It's great. It's a great ending. Good job to the writers of The Front Page.
I have some other lines that I can highlight, and I probably will highlight in a little bit. But I wanted to take a second because I did want to, if you don't mind, I want to give Bella the floor here for one thing in particular, which is, this is a case of a movie that, obviously I watched with you the other day as we were taking our notes, but this is a film you've been, you've seen for more than half a decade now, and it played well enough for you the first time you saw it that you kept dating me, and it still really hit for you this time. So, because you do have a history with this one, if you would just talk a bit about like why for you particularly this one still hits like it does, why it still gets the laughs from you that it does, absent any of like the behind the scenes Howard Hawks whatever stuff that we've been getting into.
I think for me, part of it does tie into what I was saying earlier about Hildy being seen as an equal by everybody that she worked around. I know there was one line where where she said Walter treated her like an errand boy, and he asked if he should have treated her like a water buffalo instead, which was great. But to me, I love that Hildy wasn't sexualized in the film at all, and I find that so maybe to me, but being a reporter is often a quote unquote sexy profession. And I don't know. I really resonated with the fact that she wasn't made out to be that way. Like she wasn't, I keep seeing, I'm going to use a name that I just keep seeing in headlines, Jane Mansfield. Like she wasn't a Jane Mansfield type of character. She was not supposed to like make heads turn, but she did because she was just that good at her job. And that's something that you certainly don't see at the time. That's something that you still like, if somebody is really good at their job now, and there's still that level, if you're a woman, there's still that level of being just over sexualized. And I think that really stuck with me. And also, again, originally being a reporter myself and eventually becoming an editor, I flip-flop between feeling bad for Hildy and then feeling bad for Walter, and just kind of I've been on both sides of that conversation, and it's tough. I also just love that they talk really quickly. As an editor, as I've said earlier, I like to keep things very brief and to keep things as condensed as possible. And I like that they get a lot in a very short amount of time. makes me happy.
I will also note, talking about the Hildy character and all of that, something that's going to tie into a film that will already be out by the time this episode releases, but none of us have seen yet because it's not out yet. There is no argument, even though the comics come out a little before this film originally, as time goes on, there is no argument that Hildy is in 75% of the DNA of Lois Lane as we know her today. There's just no argument. Like that exact kind of brassy cutthroat, energy that Lois Lane has in
without
everything from the comics to the Margot Kidder performance to not so much Kate Bosworth or Amy Adams, but it seems like Rachel Brosnahan is definitely leaning into the Rosalind Russell.
She's also the Smallville Lois Lane, 100%.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it seems
Remember
like
Kate Bosworth played Lois Lane?
Dude, why would you ever have the balls and the temerity to remind me of Superman Returns? In what world is that okay? I do not like this current little trend that's happening. That's where people are trying to reappraise Superman Returns.
Yeah, can you imagine how annoying it would be?
Yeah, I know. When I was a 17-year-old, I was a fucking moron. I get it. You're bringing up something from when I was 17-year-old.
You were 20.
Okay, pal.
You maintained Superman Returns was good.
Yeah, and then when I was
literally the minute Henry Cavill came on screen.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at that chest. How do you not immediately convert?
Anyway, so much of this.
I was on a 10 on the Kinsey scale. When I saw Henry Cavill, I was like, I think I'm a 9. That 1 is Henry Cavill. He's got so much chest hair it's sticking out of the Superman suit. How can you not immediately just be like, I mean, I would.
This is such a weird diversion for the His Girl Friday episode. My point is, Rosalind Russell and what she's doing as Hildy in His Girl Friday is just undeniably in Lois Lane. Because, the other thing is like...
But if Clark Kent was also Ralph Bellamy...
Yes. Well, that is kind of the thing. He kind of is, isn't he?
He's both, right? He's both Ralph Bellamy and Walter.
Because think about what they do in the Reeves Superman. That is all very screwball comedy, right?
Yeah.
And you could absolutely have Reeves Clark Kent, just like Ralph Bellamy, doing the bit where after all the dinner table banter, just going, so Mrs. Sweeney didn't have twins.
God, he's so
goddamn funny in this.
He's like a dopey little dachshund in this movie. It's so amazing. God, it's so fun.
He's the golden retriever boyfriend.
Yes,
that is exactly the dog metaphors are great, but that's exactly what he is. He's he's every guy that every quote unquote brassy broad that I know would love to date because that he's just going to bend over backward for her and. There's something to it. You don't always want the Walter. Yeah. He's hotter, but you don't want him.
The exchange they have that I think of all the time when Bruce just goes, well, Albany's a mighty good insurance town. Most people there take it out pretty early in life. And Walter just goes, yeah, well, I can see why they would. It's such a...
It's so low-key, a nasty movie, just a mean-spirited little movie. I mean, this one could have been called Arsenic and Old Lace if you want it to be. This is fucking, this is like a little poison pill. I love it.
At one point at some point, Cary Grant says something. He says lavender and old lace. And that just perked up my ears where I'm like, because... Oh God, Arsenic and all.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. The white-haired lavender and old lace, and then when he's like, "Isn't she old, Bruce?" Mm-hmm. Just reminded me of a really shitty movie we saw recently.
Oh, someone might get very mad if you're going to say the title. I think you're going to say.
I don't. Oh my God! I forgot that you liked that movie. I thought you were talking about other people. I don't know why anyone would. Sorry. Materialist sucks.
I don't know. I have good taste. That shit. I have good taste. It's fine.
Fuck that fucking movie. It sucks that I like Past Lives so much, and then this diarrhea of a movie had to exist.
Hey, you know what? She has her Neil Blomkamp experience.
That's true.
You're now a true cinephile.
Tom, I need to point out, you love to point out when you corrupt people. I am sitting here in shock because I not only have never heard, would never have imagined the woman I'm marrying describing a movie as a diarrhea of a movie, because that is a way that only you, Tom, describe movies. Yeah. I don't ever do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever say the word diarrhea
No!
just normally.
I'm legitimately surprised and a little shocked. Anyway, but yes, when Grant says lavender and old lace, I think of arsenic and old lace because that was kind of arsenic and old lace was my Cary Grant gateway drug. Belle, you and I have not watched that one yet. We absolutely will, but that was like I remember that being a movie where my dad was like, "Ah, you like Boris Karloff, you like the monster movies, you might enjoy this movie." And I watched that and I was like, who the hell is this guy? Who is this man who has more charisma than any human being who has ever been on movie screens before? Like, just, my God. Which we will get into in terms of like, when we wind down about Cary Grant, particularly in this year in the movies, because this is not the only iconic Cary Grant performance this year. But before we get into that, did anybody have anything they wanted to add about His Girl Friday before we wind down as we always do?
I don't think so.
I mean, I think we should touch on the fact that Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell were just such good friends outside of this film. Like, such good friends to the point that he introduced her to the person that would eventually become her husband for the rest of her life. It was somebody that was staying with him. Not somebody, he has a name, Freddie Brisson. But he was staying with him the entire time that they were shooting, and Freddie really wanted to meet Rosalind Russell because he saw her in a movie the previous year and was like, I'm either going to kill that girl or I'm going to marry her. And anyway, he kept on trying to get with her, and Cary Grant apparently kept approaching Rosalind Russell as they were shooting His Girl Friday and just asking her if she's met Freddie, and she just had no interest in him whatsoever. Eventually they did meet. Eventually they did get married, but she tried to get out of it because on the day of their wedding, he spotted her walking away from the venue, and she joked that she was leaving him. So, spoilers, Michael.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That's inevitably happening. I have legitimately made peace with the fact that you're going to try and bail day of. You're going to panic and just run like Julia Roberts in Runaway Bride.
A movie I have not seen.
Really?
But, yeah, I'm not like a big Julia Roberts person.
I don't know why I said really. It's not good. It's not like I would be like, oh, you have to watch this. You probably shouldn't, but I've seen it several times. So
several times?
Because it was Tom. I feel like you forget that in the ye olden days,
you blast all of that off and then immediately go, yeah, I've seen it a few times.
No, because I'll tell you the truth. It's because, as you remember, Tom, I'm sure you had a similar experience when you'd go to, like, when somebody would drop you off at your grandparents' house, right? As a younger kid, and it's like, well, I'm beholden to whatever grandma's putting on the TV, and my grandma had HBO, and remember, like, Runaway Bride's 99, so that's running constantly on cable, and my grandmother will watch any romantic comedy into oblivion. That my grandmother might hold the record in the United States of America for most viewings of 27 Dresses. And I feel like any time Runaway Bride was on, she just left it on. So I have seen that so many goddamn times.
See, I don't have that experience because my grandfather never did anything for us, and my grandmother lived with us, and she was just basically like, oh, Tommy, put whatever you want on. I'm like, great. Die Hard 3.
I was going to say, so your grandmother holds the record for most viewings of Halloween's Season of the Witch. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, with that anecdote you told Bella, I will just say, in defense of Rosalind Russell, in that anecdote, I do have to imagine if you're a woman maybe looking for a husband, and Cary Grant goes, you have to meet Freddie. He's this fella who's been living with me at my house. Rosalind Russell's going, that'd be barking up the wrong tree. Can't imagine.
Well, he was the best man at their wedding.
I'm not doubting that, to be clear. I'm just saying that Cary Grant, we've all seen the Cary Grant Randolph Scott photo shoots, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, Cary Grant's friends were different than other people's friends.
Again,
let's just say.
oh, you just have to meet Freddie. He's a boy staying with me. You'll get along great. It'd be like, I'm sure
He
we
loves
will.
to
I don't know if
decorate.
I see it. Yeah, I don't know if I see. Let me tell you why you have to meet Freddie. He saw you in a picture and he said, I either have to murder that woman or marry her. I gotta be honest, Bella, if Tom just said earlier, like, oh, I'm single. If you were like, oh, I could set you up with somebody, and you walked up to a friend of yours and went, you have to meet this guy, Tommy. He's either going to marry you or murder you. You can't be surprised if she doesn't want to meet him. That's a bad way to get someone to meet you.
Some people are into that. Keep them on their toes. Makes it fun.
You just have to meet Freddie. So, winding down as we always do. And I direct this only at you, Tom, because I have legitimately already had this conversation with Bella in our home a couple days ago about the Academy Awards, which, by the way, little fun fact here, Tom, despite the fact that this woman is marrying me, she stepped into a terrible trap because she had the audacity to ask me, she went, so has every movie that's won Best Picture gotten into the National Film Registry? And I went, no. And if you want the information, I have a spreadsheet here ready to go. And just went down the spreadsheet.
30-minute detour.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an ulterior motive for asking you, which you will not find out for a couple of weeks. Maybe less, actually.
The fuck is happening?
I've been asking that every day for the last 8 years, brother.
So, Tom, how do you think His Girl Friday did at the Academy Awards that year?
0.
You are correct, but that might be because Cary Grant had another big comedy that year. And you know how sometimes that can happen where somebody, if they have two big things in a year, one just kind of overtakes the other, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like, this year, like, Luca Guadagnino's Queer kind of just fell to the wayside because Challengers was just like the thing.
And even that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It got a WGA nomination, so I'll take that. We did it right. The Academy got it wrong. But actually, you know what? That's also stupid because as I say that, I'm looking at this list of Best Picture nominees and going, well, I think two guys got 2 films in for Best Picture, so whatever. It wasn't nominated for any Oscars. The Best Picture nominees that year were All This in Heaven 2, Foreign Correspondent, The Grapes of Wrath, The Great Dictator, Kitty Foyle, The Letter, The Long Voyage Home, Our Town. Now, here's the other Cary Grant, The Philadelphia Story.
Okay.
Which Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, and Jimmy Stewart, which also is what Jimmy Stewart wins his Oscar for because he didn't win it the year prior for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. But the winner that year for Best Picture was Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca. So,
yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Yeah.
But that also is a case of Long Voyage Home and Grapes of Wrath are both Fords, right? Rebecca and Foreign Correspondent are both Hitchcocks. So, weird how that works out, right? But that is, that is His Girl Friday. Bella, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I have no choice. I live here.
I was going to say, like, this is the only time.
You have no choice. You're marrying a spreadsheet boy.
This is the only time I think that I get to end a recording and go like, also, are we going to have dinner or is it too late now? What are you thinking? But
you didn't eat dinner before this?
No, we were busy.
What are you, psychotic?
We don't eat.
Bella,
that's rude.
On your way out, do you have anything you want to plug?
No, aside from, well, we got a wedding to plan.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you wanna come to the wedding, please don't. Actually, we got.
I was
really
going to say,
strict list.
You give me shit anytime I invite actual friends to the wedding before we have a date, and you were about to invite the entire listening audience.
That's like
five
people.
people.
Come on.
That was like,
wow. Wow, I really have gotten into... Oh, man, I am such a corrupting force. Holy shit. I'm going to be outside your wedding like fucking Alice Cooper and Prince of Darkness. I've got a message for you, and you're not going to like it.
I mean, that's going to be your best man speech, obviously.
I think my
And
favorite
then I
part
just
of that
turn
is
into cockroaches.
I like Tom saying, I'm going to be outside the wedding. You should be inside. You have things to do.
Well, I'm gonna be drunk. I'm gonna wander.
Oh, Lord.
You gotta like plan a bachelor party or something.
Well, we had this conversation the other day.
Yes, we've
I
talked about-
can't
We're
do
not
any of
litigating
that.
this on mic.
I can't.
We
yeah.
do not need to litigate this on microphone on the show. Bella, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody else, stick around. We'll be right back with our picks for the National Film Registry.
See you, fuckers.
The National Film Registry isn't some fixed object, frozen in time. It's always growing, adding new titles every year. These annual selections are made by the National Film Preservation Board, with members like Martin Scorsese, Alfre Woodard, and Leonard Maltin, and representatives from organizations like the Academy, the DGA, and the AFI coming together to debate and decide. But they don't just pull titles out of thin air. They pull from the public, people like you and us, who can submit their nominations for the registry in a form on the Library of Congress's website. What we do, at the end of each episode, is have Mike and Tom pick films not yet in the registry that they feel should be, inspired by that day's topic. At the end of each season, those films will be formally submitted to the National Film Registry for consideration, on behalf of You're Missing Out. Here are today's picks.
You know, the obvious way to go with this is a screwball comedy. The obvious way to go with this is a romantic comedy, because this is one of the great romantic comedies, one of the great screwball comedies. But there's a different way to approach this, insofar as one of the things we talked about in this episode is how much Rosalind Russell is the main character, how much this is about a woman in a male-dominated space, right? And a woman carving out her place in this male-dominated space and defying the odds, and in fact, where her femininity benefits her and helps her empathize and helps her solve things and solve, in a sense, kind of a mystery almost that nobody else could solve because they just weren't looking the right way. Another element with this film is, of course, the murder at the center of it. You know, for a fun, frothy comedy, it revolves around someone being murdered and somebody being on trial and ultimately executed for murder. And you wouldn't necessarily think that's the kind of thing you could put in a fun, frothy comedy, but they did it here in His Girl Friday, and they did it in another iconic comedy from many, many years later. And much like we were talking about our favorite jokes from His Girl Friday and some of the great quotes from His Girl Friday, the film I'm picking also has some excellent quotes, including "Whoever said orange is the new pink was seriously disturbed," and in reference to getting into Harvard Law School, responding, "What, like it's hard?" My registry pick is one that, again, nobody would disagree with. If it got in, it's part of the cinematic canon now, despite the fact that it's a film that should not work at all, which is 2001's Legally Blonde. It's one of the great comedies of the new millennium. It is a film that is way better and smarter than the poster or the trailer would make you think. It's analogous to Clueless in that way, right? Where like you hear the premise and go, okay, I bet I know what this is going to be. And then you actually sit and watch and go, this is a much smarter script. It's a much sharper film than I think I anticipated. It still holds up comedically. That central performance, that Reese Witherspoon performance, is one of her best, if not the best performance of her career. The style is great. The look is great. And there is a romance within it. You know, we do have Luke Wilson in there. It's not as central to it as His Girl Friday, but nevertheless, it is a film that manages to balance the tone of kind of the darkness of a murder trial and the light, frothy fun of a comedy. It's not that Rosalind Russell could necessarily have played Elle Woods, right? But Elle Woods is a very kind of screwball comedy-esque character. It is a character that could have worked in a Howard Hawks film many, many moons ago. And it's a character and a film that still resonates with people. The banter is great. The energy is great. Elle's ending speech at the trial is so good. And it is one of those comedies that still plays like gangbusters now, much like His Girl Friday. Decades later, they still just work. They still make you laugh just as much as they did for audiences who went to see it in the theater. So Legally Blonde from 2001 is my pick for the National Film Registry.
So, much like Mike, was sort of trying to find something that was being able to balance the sort of darkness inherent within the premise of being about a murder, and still managing to not be like a dour affair. Still manages to be light and fun and energetic, and I also wanted to. There's also the angle where maybe you could also find something about two lovers that really fit, even though they might not necessarily be the poster children for healthy relationships or normative relationships. And luckily for me, there is a movie franchise, I should say, that is about a couple that are madly in love with each other, and they are very weird and eccentric folks, and they do things by their own way, and it makes people around them look at them a little askew, but at the end of the day, everyone's charmed by them. But also there is a murder, and they have to solve the murder. At least the husband does, while the wife stands by and is like, it's so cool that you can solve murders. I love this about you. Let's have another drink. I am doing After the Thin Man, the second Thin Man movie, because the first one's in, and I love all of these movies, and I think they should all be in. They are great. There is an argument to be made that After the Thin Man is actually the best of the franchise, the one where they sort of figured out all the stuff that worked in the first one on purpose and on accident, and really just perfected it. They're just great. That is just like couple goals to a T. They're so funny. They're so fun. There's almost like an Ocean's 11's kind of quality to those movies of just like they're fun hangout movies, and you don't really care about the crimes. It's just these cool people hanging out and just being cool. It's just movie star shit. And I love it. I think there is a very good connective tissue between His Girl Friday and the Thin Man movies. So yeah, After the Thin Man, the second one, I think should be in the registry, and I think pairs quite well with this. That's my pick, and I'm sticking with it.
You're Missing Out is a production of Neon Night Media. It's hosted by Mike Natale and Tom Lorenzo. The show is produced by Kaya Lampar and edited by Mike Natale and Kaya Lampar. More information about our hosts and guests are in the show notes. Thank you to Amanda Rush for our social media, and all of you for checking us out.
If you're listening right now or want to take the show on the go, every episode is available as an audio podcast. Follow You're Missing Out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you hear, please leave a review and a rating. It helps folks find the show.
Want to watch the show or watch some of the films along with us? Great, that's why we're doing this. Don't leave us alone out here. Check out our YouTube channel. We've got video versions of every episode, uploads of some of the National Film Registry titles we're discussing, commentary tracks, and live streams. And once a month, I'll be uploading some content that's exclusive to the YouTube channel. So be sure to click subscribe and hit that little bell to be notified as soon as new stuff goes up. Because, let's be fucking real, I ain't sticking to a goddamn schedule.
So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
And we'll see you next time.
And you'll see us next time, because we don't watch you, you're watching us.